Right, welcome ladies and gentlemen. We've got some more Snow White reactions. They're not very good. They've also tried to come out with a revised box office figure for its opening weekend. It is important to note that the box office figure that they're giving isn't actually a revised figure, but it is being framed as such really dishonestly by the mainstream media. So I thought it was worthwhile pointing out because it is incredibly dishonest what they're doing here with this film. Now, the updated reactions, the influencer reactions, are actually really bad. They're not good at all. So, I guess, make of that what you will, but it will be really interesting to see what happens when this movie drops. I did a video yesterday where I took a look at the ticket sales, and just to see whether anyone had booked in for anything, basically. I mean, that is a ticket sale, right? There are effectively no one booked in. No one is buying stuff. No one is booked in for this movie. And I looked around at quite a lot of showings, and it was a pretty big disaster, actually. So, no matter what you guys think of it, this movie is going to be a failure simply because of how much they've spent on it. They have, by the end of 2023, even though they shot more stuff in 2024, they'd already spent just under 300 million, just over 250, splat bang in the middle with $270 million. Now we know this because they had to file their taxes publicly in the UK where they filmed. But they did more filming, so they're going to do an updated tax filing, and it's not going to be good. It's going to be insanely high. And the moral of the story here is that this all could have been avoided. This is a rod that they made for their own back. But anyway, I digress, or I ramble, whatever. We're going to take a look. Please do hit subscribe if you are new here, and do turn those bell notifications on. So, as it says here, Snow White set for $100 million global debut. Now that's not any different to what it was before. At all, actually. They're trying to frame it as a new, revised figure. Disney's Snow White arrives in theatres this weekend and updated. It's not updated. It's not updated at all. Updated box office estimates are in. And obviously we've got some more social media reactions as well. So according to Deadline, the Mouse House's latest live-action remake is on track to take in between $45 to $50 million in America, North America. So that is the domestic box office, which is where Disney will be earning the bulk of its money. Right? They get the best split there. And then another 55 million abroad for a worldwide debut of around $100 million. That's woeful for a film that has probably had about $300 million spent on it. That's truly bad. There's not really any. You can't mince your words with this one. That's awful. Now, if it had, so it's difficult to say really, because in terms of what this break-even point is, it's a tricky one because we don't know quite what the figure's going to be. When all is said and done with what they've done on spending with the reshoots and stuff, we do know. And this article is so incredibly dumb. Oh, that wouldn't usually be seen as a bad start. It's awful. And that would be seen as a bad start to any movie that didn't cost. For a worldwide debut of $100 million, a movie, for that not to be seen as a failure, a movie would need to be, budget-wise, somewhere in the region of like 25 million, basically. Or even 50 million. And then that would be seen as okay. But it had $269.4 million spent on it by the end of 2023, even though it's higher than that. Right? It's going to be higher than that. And this is wrong. It says current reports put it at 250. That's wrong because Forbes looked at the actual tax filings. So anyone saying, oh, it's 250 is just plain dishonest and wrong. Now, if it has somewhere in the region of $300 million spent on it, they they are able to get back somewhere in the region, roughly, give or take, about $75 million back from the UK taxpayer. That's how the tax break works here. So that'll put the budget, give or take, at $225 million. Now that still puts it at a $450 million break-even point just on production. You've still got marketing to factor into that on top of it as well. So, you know, if it's $450 production to break even, plus another $100 million, so say they spent, this is being ultra kind to it, let's say they spent $50 million on marketing. That's another $100 million on top of it. That's $550 million that they need to break even and start going into profit. That's a disaster. This movie is a disaster. It's truly bad. But anyway, there's still a pretty big embargo, which is, again, not good. And it'll be interesting to see when that embargo releases, to see how many people come out and hate on this movie. But let's take a look and see what the non-positive reviews are. So Chris Parker, who is a notorious Disney shill, massively, says, I sadly left underwhelmed. Zegler is outstanding and her voice performance really elevated the old and new songs. I even found the dwarfs to be fun. Everything else is just aimless. No real plot, weak villain, and many underdeveloped characters. It's decent, just not memorable. I mean, that's a scathing review for something that's decent. No plot, weak villains, aimless, underdeveloped characters. That's pretty bad. So we had this one here. So Snow White is a movie. Rachel Zegler proves once again what a talent she is. I don't recall her ever proving that, but okay. She nails every song. Gal Gadot feels extremely out of place, almost as if she's in another movie. I never got over the look of the dwarfs, but the cartoony animals are adorable. Snow White is a mostly well-shot fairy tale for young audiences. Of course it's for young audiences, we all know that. The new songs don't fit with the classics. Gal Gadot aims for camp fabulosity, but misses. And the dwarves are uncanny, but it moves swiftly and has a meaningful message. And Zegler is simply perfection. It's not high praise. Mostly well shot. New songs don't fit. I mean, for a musical, the songs have to fit. Let's practice what we preach. Disney's live-action Snow White dedicates itself to the power of community, rallying together against tyranny. Rachel Zegler makes this movie worth it. Andrew Burnap is that guy. Genuinely surprised by how much I enjoyed that. So this is positive, obviously. Well, Disney has had the last laugh with Snow White. After years of backlash, they produced one of their strongest ever remakes. Rachel Zegler is an enchanting lead. All the story tweaks work well for a modern audience. I mean, that's a red flag, a modern audience. I don't care what the modern audience wants. There is no modern audience, and you're gonna find that on opening weekend. There is no modern audience. Stop it. After 88 years, it's a reimagining that makes sense. Yeah, I'm sure that's code word for absolute total garbage, but okay. Again, this is pretty positive. It's magical, spellbinding, blah, blah, blah. Well, Gal Gadot is great as the evil queen. Snow White isn't a great remake of the animated classic. Rachel Zegler is a poor Snow White. The changes to the story and lyrics are awful. Some special effects are not that special, and the film didn't land for me. A huge shame. Snow White may not be the fairest of them all, but is actually a solid, rousing and entertaining Disney live-action musical remake. Snow White has its flaws. Gal Gadot is terribly miscast, but the gorgeous performance of Rachel Zegler captures the warm spirit of the iconic princess, while the necessary narrative change gives her far more depth and purpose. Visually, very impressive. Dopey, very cute. So you can kind of see the narrative is just kind of crumbling away now. Yeah, sure, they're not all negative, right? I get that. But even some of the positive ones are pretty negative. So, again, $100 million global debut when you've got to reach, and I said conservatively, $550 million to break even is a disaster. That's really bad for this film. So, there you go. I will be watching this opening weekend soon, and I'll be giving you my review. But what do you guys think? Leave your thoughts down below. Bye now.